Hi, welcome to Starz Recapped. Today, I'm going to explain an American action horror movie titled Alone, which was released in 2020. Spoiler alert, watch out and stay sharp. Tired of being quarantined, Aiden apologizes to his camera, saying he's done his best. Then he prepares the rope to end it all. It all began 42 days ago. When Aiden wakes up, the woman he spent the night with is already gone. He heads to the bathroom to wash up and finds a note from his parents along with a check, reminding him to pay the rent. He hears shouting and banging in the hallway, but assumes it's just the neighbors being loud as usual. When he turns on the TV, the emergency broadcast system is on. Suddenly, sirens and screams echo from the streets. Aiden rushes to his balcony and sees a smoking helicopter crash into a building. People are running everywhere, and a lost girl asks for help, but then she and a man suddenly leap onto an elderly person and start attacking them. A military jet flies by overhead. Horrified, Aiden bolts back inside just as his neighbor Brandon bursts into the apartment. Brandon says that his roommate, someone he's known his entire life, suddenly tried to attack him. On TV, a man explains that a new virus is spreading, turning people into flesh-eating zombies. It's transmitted through blood, mostly via bites and scratches. Before he can say more, the broadcast cuts out. Realizing that Brandon was injured by his roommate, Aiden grabs a knife to protect himself. As people continue shouting and pounding on doors in the hallway, Brandon's eyes start bleeding and his face begins to change. Aiden forces him out of the apartment and has to run to slam the door shut as Brandon finally snaps and tries to force his way back in to attack him. After a struggle, Aiden manages to lock the door. When he looks through the peephole, he's horrified to see people eating each other in the hallway. He backs away immediately, trying to collect himself. On TV, officials report that the virus is spreading globally and urge everyone to stay indoors. Aiden starts drinking while trying to call his family, but the phone lines are down. Eventually, he receives a flood of delayed text messages from his dad. The first says he and Aiden's mom were planning to visit him, but they had no news about his sister. Another text apologizes for not making it and urges Aiden to stay alive. The final message is from his mom, asking him to call. When he tries, the lines are still dead. Aiden breaks down, spending most of the day crying and staring out at the world. Later, he starts marking the days of the outbreak and writing reminders on sticky notes. He can't stop thinking about his father and the time they spent together. On day 6, Aiden begins rearranging things around the apartment, desperate for a change. Experts on TV discuss how quarantine is affecting people's mental health. On day 7, he tries recording a video diary, but the screams and violent sounds from the hallway ruin the moment. Aiden attempts to explain how the constant noise is wearing him down, but ends up closing the laptop. By day 14, Aiden covers the windows to block out the sight of the ruined city, though he still keeps the news on. Experts now call the infected screamers, explaining they repeat the last words they spoke before turning. Aiden keeps drinking and ignores anyone who bangs on his door. On day 16, he discovers the water has run out and angrily throws things in frustration. He knows he should go out for supplies or try to find his family, but he's too scared. The sounds of people dying outside are still all around him. Reading about sensory deprivation and how it can cause hallucinations, Aiden tries to stay active by playing guitar or exercising, but his frustration builds until he ends up smashing a mirror. One night, Aiden hears noises coming from the bathroom and grabs his bat, preparing to defend himself. But when he sees that a screamer has broken into his apartment through the vents, he immediately hides. The infected woman roams the apartment, repeatedly saying no as she searches. Aiden waits for the right moment, then sneaks up behind her and strikes her with the bat. The screamer collapses, and Aiden is left to deal with the horrifying reality of having killed someone. He throws the body off the balcony, then wedges a surfboard under the bathroom vent to block it. On day 42, Aiden records another video log while screams echo outside. He admits he's losing his mind and is too terrified to leave. With only 3 days left before he starts starving, he knows he needs to get supplies. Suddenly his phone rings. It's a voicemail from his parents. They explain they were trapped at the office and couldn't reach him or his sister. The message is cut short when a screamer finds and kills them. Hearing the moment his parents die pushes Aiden into his worst breakdown yet. Desperate and full of emotion, he grabs his bat and leaves the apartment. In the hallway, he finds Brandon lying on the floor, repeatedly saying, "I'm okay." Aiden raises the bat, ready to strike, but he can't go through with it. At that moment, a group of screamers charges toward him. Aiden dodges them and runs as fast as he can. With the main exit blocked, he takes the stairs to a lower floor and hides, waiting for a group of runners to pass. He then moves down the corridor, shoving away anyone who tries to attack him. Eventually, he reaches another stairwell and climbs back to his floor, entering from the opposite end. Back inside his apartment, he quickly pushes the refrigerator in front of the door to block it. When he looks through the peephole, he sees the screamers searching for him. Moments later, Aiden hears a loud noise and the power cuts out. He looks outside and sees that the entire city has gone dark. He spends the night dreaming about his family, and in the morning, he wakes to the sound of screamers in the hallway. Exhausted and hopeless, Aiden decides to end his life. But just as he's about to go through with it, he spots a woman in an apartment across the courtyard. She's alive and uninfected. That discovery snaps him out of it. Aiden records what he believes will be his final log since his battery is almost dead, saying he's met a girl. He shaves off his beard and begins making a plan to reach out to her, hoping he can help. When he steps onto the balcony, he sees screamers in her building too, and quickly ducks out of sight. Still determined to connect with her, he writes messages on signs and holds them up to his window. Eventually, she notices him. He learns her name is Eva. She's alone and running low on supplies. When she hears screamers nearby, she has to close her curtains, but tells him she'll talk to him again later. That night, it starts to rain. Aiden sets out pots to collect water, then washes up and shaves, unaware that Eva watches him quietly for a few seconds. The next day, they use signs to communicate and make a plan. Aiden ties a rope between their balconies and sends her some bottles of water. Just then, a screamer starts climbing up Eva's building. As it's about to reach her balcony, Aiden throws a glass bottle at its head and begins banging on his balcony railing to draw its attention. The screamer turns and starts climbing Aiden's building instead. At the same time, another screamer begins pounding on his front door so hard that the fridge blocking it starts to shift. Eva throws things too, trying to help, but Aiden keeps the climber focused on him until it reaches his balcony. Aiden rushes back inside, locks the balcony door, and then sprints to push the fridge back into place. The screamer on the balcony begins slamming against the window, trying to break it. But before it can get through, its injuries cause it to collapse. Aiden seizes the moment, rushes back outside, and finishes it off with his bat. Now covered in blood, he quickly rips off his shirt. Moments later, he packs a bag and leaves the apartment to retrieve Brandon's keys from his body. When screamers appear in the hallway, Aiden drops to the floor and pretends to be dead until they pass. He then sneaks into Brandon's apartment, slamming the door shut just before the screamers catch up. Inside, he finds bloodstains on the walls and a body lying on the bed. Aiden grabs whatever food he can find and is surprised to discover some climbing gear, though the axe is missing. He checks the bedroom and finds the axe under the bed, but just then, a screamer bursts out of the bathroom. Aiden shoves it into a mirror and tries to make a run for it, but the screamer tackles him into the wall. Grabbing a lamp, Aiden hits it repeatedly until he manages to break free and falls onto the bed, only to realize the body on it is starting to wake up too. The second screamer lunges at him, but can't bite through his clothes, giving Aiden just enough time to grab the axe and finish him off. He then turns back and kills the screamer on the bed as well. With both threats handled, Aiden grabs all the climbing gear and tries to make his way out, but the hallway is packed with screamers. He carefully sneaks around them and narrowly avoids one at the last second, before making it back to his apartment. Once inside, he strips off his bloodied clothes. As he checks through the climbing gear, he's thrilled to find a pair of walkie-talkies. Later, Aiden ties some sheets together from his balcony and climbs down to the ground safely, only to be met with the sight of partially eaten bodies. He notices screamers running nearby, so he quietly sneaks through the area and quickly tosses one of the walkie-talkies up to Eva's balcony before sprinting back to climb up to his apartment. The next morning, Eva contacts Aiden, and they're both thrilled to finally have a real conversation again. They spend the whole day talking about anything and everything, their spirits slowly lifting. Feeling more hopeful, Aiden decides to go out looking for supplies again, this time through the building's vents. He's startled by a zombie face at first, but it turns out to just be a dead screamer. He crawls through and drops into the bathroom of another apartment. There's blood on the edge of the tub, but when he pulls back the shower curtain, it's empty. After carefully checking every room and confirming he's alone, he opens the kitchen cupboard and hits the jackpot. It's full of food. Aiden snacks on something quickly, then calls Eva over the walkie-talkie to share the news. Excited and already talking about the two of them escaping and searching for their families. Eva tells him she's tired of having screamers crowding her wall every day. She's made her own rope from bedsheets, just like he did, and wants to come over to his place. Things take a turn when Aiden finds the fridge pushed against the apartment's front door, which means someone else might be living there. He notices a door he hadn't seen before and discovers a hole in the wall. Suddenly, a man named Edward appears in the kitchen holding a makeshift weapon. Once Edward sees that Aiden isn't a screamer, he relaxes and explains that he came from another apartment through the hole weeks ago. The original resident had taken his own life in the bathtub, and Edward threw the body into the hallway. Edward shares some of the meat he's cured himself and lets Aiden take more food from the cupboard. They sit and talk for a while, reflecting on loneliness and the hard choices they've had to make, like killing to survive. But when Aiden turns his back to grab more supplies, Edward suddenly knocks him out with a bat. Aiden wakes up tied to a bed in Edward's room, where Edward is keeping his infected wife. Edward reveals his plan. He wants to feed Aiden to his wife, but she won't eat someone who's unconscious, so he had to wait until Aiden woke up. He tries to give Aiden painkillers to make it easier, and Aiden starts to suspect Edward has done this before, possibly to the apartment's original resident. Edward insists the man was already dead and says his wife refused to eat him, so he ended up feeding her their two dogs. Suddenly, Eva yells through the walkie-talkie, and Edward moves to check out the noise. Aiden struggles against the bed until he breaks it and frees himself. Then he pulls Edward back into the room, right into his wife's dinner. When Aiden picks up the walkie-talkie, Eva tells him the screamers have broken into her place. Aiden immediately bolts out of the apartment, with the screamers chasing him down the hallway. He can't get into his own place because the fridge is blocking the way, so he rushes into Brandon's apartment instead. Looking outside, he sees Eva hiding on her balcony while the screamers pound on the glass doors. Very carefully, Aiden jumps from Brandon's balcony to his own. Now he can use the sheets to climb down. But the sheets slip and he falls, landing painfully on a chair. The noise grabs the attention of a screamer, who quickly comes after him. Aiden finds a gun next to a body and grabs it, shooting the man in the head. As more screamers jump from nearby balconies, he shoots another one to clear the path. Eva throws down her bedsheets, and Aiden starts climbing, but so does a screamer. Aiden has no choice but to jump onto a different balcony and cut the sheets, making the screamer fall. Now Eva is able to climb down and meet Aiden on the lower floor, where they share a tight hug. They head inside the apartment, but when they open the door, the screamers rush in behind them. The duo dodges them and locks the creatures inside. More screamers are swarming the hallway, so they dash toward the stairs. Aiden smashes the door handle with his bat. They come across a zombified man barely able to move on the steps. Choosing to spare him, they continue to the next floor. When they open the door, two screamers tackle Aiden against the wall. Eva shoves one down the stairs, but Aiden and the other screamer fall with them. The creature tries to bite Aiden until Eva finishes it off with an axe. They take off down the hallway, running as fast as they can, striking and shoving away every screamer that tries to stop them. This corridor connects both buildings, and Eva manages to get into Aiden's apartment, but he's ambushed by the screamer who's been lurking outside the door since the beginning. The terrifying man tries to claw his way inside, but Aiden pulls him back and finally kills him. Afterward, Aiden enters the apartment and begins stripping off his clothes, thinking he's been bitten. He steps out onto the balcony, ready to end his life. But as he removes his last shirt, he realizes there are no wounds. There's no time to celebrate. Screamers are already pounding on the door, so the two of them rush to push the fridge in front of it, promising to stick together and fight to survive. That's my explanation of the movie Alone. So, guys, what do you think of the movie? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for Moreno PU videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to support the channel. Thanks for watching.